Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Kohler. Obviously this is the first time we're doing a video like this. Hopefully it all works out. So I know the last day of school was a little bit weird and I know it's going to be tough getting into the swing of things, but we still do need to continue on with our curriculum. So the first set of notes we're going to do is going to be solving for slope intercept form. And the good thing about these notes is you can pause it and rewind it if I go too fast. So feel free to do so as I go through the notes. So slope intercept form. These words are really important. So what is slope intercept form? It's exactly what it says. It's the form that you can see the slope and the intercept. We've actually been using this quite a bit. We just haven't called it slope intercept form before. So that's going to be y equals mx plus b. And like I said, we've been using that for over a month now. We just haven't said slope intercept form before, but it is y equals mx plus b. And as you should know, the m is the slope, the b is the y-intercept. So it makes sense that it would be called slope intercept form because it shows you where the slope is and it shows you the y-intercept. Now we are always going to want equations written in slope intercept forms, intercept form. The reason that we always want it in slope intercept form is because it shows us what that slope is. It shows us what the y-intercept is, so that when we are trying to graph, it's easier. So let's do an example. And the problems will say, identify the slope and y-intercept. Now, just to be clear, if it wasn't clear at the beginning, you should be writing these notes down as I go, just so you can have them for when we do problems. So the first problem will be y equals 3 times x plus 4. Now, in this problem, we are going to be identifying the slope and the y-intercept. And looking at this problem, we don't automatically know what the slope and y-intercept are. We don't know because it's not in this form yet. We have to put it in that form in order to clearly see what the slope and the y-intercept is. So in order to do that, you have to distribute. So when we distribute this 3, that'll be y equals 3x. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 4 is 12. Now that is in slope-intercept form. We can tell it's in slope-intercept form. There's the slope. There's the y-intercept. It looks just like y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. So that tells us that the slope is 3. And the y-intercept is 0, 12. Just as a reminder, we always want to write that y-intercept as a coordinate because that's what you're finding. You're not just finding 12, you're finding that the intercept is 0, 12. Now let me just try to scooch this down a little bit. I'm kind of struggling with how my camera's focused on, but we'll do another example. And it's going to be the same thing, identify the slope and the y-intercept. So we have y equals 1/2 times 8x plus 6. So in this problem, what would be your first step? Your first step is going to be distributing that 1/2. You still distribute it just like we did this 3, but now we're just multiplying by 1/2. So you say 1/2 times 8. 1/2 times 8. Well, that's just half of 8. What's half of 8? Half of 8 is 4, so it's 4x, and then we take half of 6, and that's 3. So we have y equals 4x plus 3. That shows us that the slope is 4, and the y-intercept is 0,3. Now, the next type of problem, it's going to be the same. You're still going to be identifying the slope and the y-intercept. It's just going to look a little different. So now we have 5x plus y equals 7. Now, let's remind ourselves what we're trying to get. We're trying to get y equals mx plus b. That's our goal, because that tells us what the slope and the y-intercept is. Well, if we look at that equation, we need y by itself. So that's what we're going to try to do. We need y by itself. So this y is what you're going to be solving for. Well, that's just your box. So now I have 5x plus box. To get rid of that 5x, you're just going to subtract. Well, now that goes away, so we're just left with y equals, and let's write this as mx plus b, so I know it's going to be negative 5x plus 7. If you wrote it the other way, that's perfectly fine, but then you have to recognize what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So now you can see that the slope is negative 5, and that y-intercept is 0,7. Your classwork, which is going to be on page 2, is going to be going over exactly what we just did, putting things in slope-intercept form, and then identifying which is the slope and which is the y-intercept. Obviously, this is not the ideal situation. I'd much rather be in the classroom teaching you, but I do hope that you're able to follow along with the notes and get as much out of it as you possibly can. I'm gonna leave a place that you could put a comment. Please let me know if you weren't able to hear me, you couldn't see, anything that I need to change for the videos. Please leave a comment if there is something. If you were able to see it all, hear it all, and understand it, just go ahead and you can tell me that as well. But thank you for watching, and I hope you're all keeping safe and clean and aren't sick. Have a great day. Bye.